nice then, tell a friend, nice then, nice then, tell a friend, nice then, tell a friend, we going in, nice then, tell a friend, we going in. It's electrical right. You ain't got no stress, your feelings get hurt. Hey, the dingo bananas dessert. Like sure, it's okay when you pull up first. But to make a believer. Like right now, I heard go like every mouth. Do you hear what I'm saying? Education, no one to entertainment. Tell a friend, nice friend. Tell a friend, nice thing. Tell a friend, nice then, tell a friend, we going in, nice then, tell a friend, going in. So much is to let you with. There's a way we can work on your top, slip it. From biblical sense to they draw it. That's how we do it. Do you feel what I'm saying? Education, no one to entertainment. Tell a friend, nice then, tell a friend, nice then, tell a friend, nice then, tell a friend, we going in, nice then, tell a friend, we're going in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Lions Den on Facebook. You'll find them at Lions Den, the Lions Den HQ. Also, check them out on YouTube. The YouTube channel is the Lions Den. Tap in. It's going in. Get that move that I told you, the one thing right there, JJ. Get it on their ass. Hey! Check it
Go ahead, Indigenous. It's your cue, Indigenous.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lions Den. Tell a friend. Come on in. We're gonna be going over some things tonight. We appreciate JJ7000 TV for allowing me to come in and get some things off. And I want to put out a disclaimer. I want to say that I don't want anyone to think that I'm going at them. I'm just critiquing scriptures, and it's not that I'm racist or I have hate toward any particular group. I just want to bring out some truths about what is being said and some of the things that we're being taught and we're being taught from that are not in our favor. So, I just want to say that, not in any way am I being racist or, going against any religious group or people. I'm just showing some truths behind what is said in some of these books. So, with that being said, I'd like to, talk about the Talmud and Paul versus Barnabas. Just a little on the Talmud. This is stemming from the last presentation that we did, or that I did. It was called, Who is Just? Because we have a lot of people like the Hebrew Israelites, who are using the racist connotations that, our oppressors used, right? And we know that, well, I ain't going to say we know, but I'm going to say they should know that in Proverbs 3 and 31, it says, envy thou not the oppressor and choose none of his ways. So when you're saying that you're going to take and put people into slavery, once you get into heaven or, whatever, when these people shouldn't, I don't even understand how these people are going to get there if they're not supposed to be in heaven, if they were the oppressor and they were wicked and they never changed. how are you going to have them as slaves? But you're envying the way of your oppressor by taking, and it says, and choose none of his ways. Choose none of his ways. So you can't take slavery and return slavery for slavery. Unless, you don't believe in the scriptures. Proverbs 3 and 31. When directly against the scripture, making up your own stuff. We need to stop doing it. We need to stop, and start doing our research behind what we're being told. So then that way, we get a better understanding of what is being said, and we also can add to the conversation because we have done some research on it, and we can add to it, and also learn more and more about it. But as you learn more, you can add more. But if you sit back blindly and listen to a man, following him to his demise, that's where you're going to end up. With him and his demise that was chosen for him, and you just simply followed like a lost sheep. So whenever JJ's ready, you there, brother? We're going to get into this first video. The title of it is What the Jewish Talmud Says About Babies, Jesus, Blacks, and Christians. And the provider is Let's Please God. And I'm using these particular videos because they kind of say what I say without having to say, speak for hours and hours, because I don't like being long-winded. And I would like to get it out and get it to you instead of you having to listen to a 12-hour video of me rambling on about things. We just get straight to the point here. Whenever JJ gets back, that's what we're going to do. But we're going to go over, the Talmud. Because to me, anything after the Torah, you have to kind of look side-eye at. Septuagint, the Talmud, you have with the Kabbalah, and these are translations, and the Byzantine Empire. You have to talk about that too, because the Byzantines was I think the first to come in and start whitewashing the scriptures, but I could be wrong, because I could be wrong, but in my opinion, it was the Byzantines were one of the first. Let's say that one of the first to come in and whitewash the scriptures and start, taking out the Ethiopian Bible and all these things, and
were established
to be what they wanted it to be.
Okay.
You see?
You ready?
Yes, sir, JJ.
All right, here we go.
and thousands of new laws formulated. There, those saints who killed Jesus, great academies of the rabbis. There, those same Pharisees who killed Jesus
Oh, come on, man.
remained the undisputed rulers of Judaism.
In Babylon, the written form of that oral tradition which Jesus so bitterly rebuked was Israel's apostasy. The Talmud also helps us understand the basis for Christ's unflattering descriptions of the Pharisees.
Thank you.
Jesus described the Pharisees as hypocrites, children of hell, blind guides, whited sepulchres, full of dead men's bones. He even described the Pharisees as children of Christ's words. In the Talmud, in Treatise Sanhedrin, an extensive passage describes the right of the Pharisee to kill anyone, just as long as he did so indirectly. As one of dozens of examples, the Talmud tells us if one bound his neighbor and he died of starvation, he is not liable to execution. In such an indirect manner, the Pharisees also killed Christ. Manipulating the Romans to actually wield the spear and sword, the Pharisees claimed, as their descendants do today, that since the Jews who are guilty. Christ also called the Pharisees adulterers, an adulterous generation. The Talmud provides generous loopholes for adultery. It says the penalty for adultery does not include sex with a minor, the wife of a minor, or the wife of a heathen.
Ah,
The
come
Talmud
on.
also encourages seduction of unwed adolescent
No.
girls called designated bondmaids. But it's important
Whoa.
how such rapes are performed.
Wait a minute. All right, go ahead, man.
Yeah, you can rewind it a little bit while we're talking. But yeah. Now, do you see how
That's wicked.
this is what these books do? They'll take and change the scripture around and make it whatever they want it to make it, and make it sound however they want it to sound.
Mm.
You know that our forefathers didn't write that, man.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
I ain't right that.
And this is what we're dealing with today. The same type of heathen. They got our kids. You know, I mean, like I said, I've been talking about it, and I won't keep on talking about it, even though we got people trying to steal my stuff and my talking points. Now all of a sudden they worried about the kids and all this, letting them talk about it, hearing it out of their mouth. But we know who's been talking about it, and it ain't no different what they doing to our kids right now. Got them in schools letting Powerpuff Girls, 65-year-old men dressed up as Powerpuff Girls, walk in and read to them, and they ain't got no teaching degree, ain't got no degrees in teaching, ain't none of that. They just allow them to walk in and read books to them. I mean, and then having brunches with them, and then having amputations, and turning this into that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And there's so many scriptures against all of this, family. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to be dealing with the same thing when we get into Muhammad. So that's why I'm dealing with this tonight. Because I want y'all to see some of the things that they say in these books and see, like we say, there's good and bad and everything. So some of these camps, some of these Hebrew camps believe in the Talmud. They believe in the Septuagint. They believe in the Kabbalah. You see what I'm saying? So, like I said, Torah, and then, but the Talmud and the Septuagint, all of them, this is what you're dealing with. Mysticism, you're dealing with child marriage or child, and they're taking away their accountability, just like our pressures today. There's no accountability for Big Pharma. There's no accountability for government and what they do to us. There's no accountability for the school systems. How they rob our kids as soon as they get out, rob them of true wisdom for 13 years, or at least 12 from first grade to 12th grade. And then they rob them as soon as they get out of high school to go to college and make them debt slaves, which the whole world is today. Debt slaves. That's what we are. Slaves to debt. And they give it a good name, consumers. We're consumers, yeah. And y'all use the same terms. Social constructs you love. And this is the people that's giving it to you. In religion, these are the people that's giving you this. In the government, scientists, your teachers, going on with them. Your government had it. Look up the Act of 1871. The second act. The first act was, about the money, but the second act was the Klan Act. And that was to keep the Klan off the black people. Which never worked because the Klan was running the government even up until, Woodrow Wilson, 1913 to 1920.
With
or 1921. So, but anyway, go ahead, JJ.
Okay. I had to hit it so it wouldn't freeze. Was you done talking?
Yeah.
Okay.
Minor, the wife of a minor, or the wife of a heathen.
Rewind that part.
The Talmud also encourages seduction of unwed adults and adulterous generation. The Talmud provides generous loopholes for adultery. It's claimed, as their descendants do today, that since the Romans were the direct cause of the death of Christ, it is the Romans, not the Jews, who are guilty. Christ also called the Pharisees adulterers, an adulterous generation. The Talmud provides generous loopholes for adultery. It says the penalty for adultery does not include sex with a minor, the wife of a minor, or the wife of a heathen. The Talmud also encourages seduction of unwed adolescent girls called designated bondmaids. But it's important how such rapes are performed. With the designated bondmaid, one is guilty only in the case of natural connection, but not in the case of perverse connection. The Pharisees reasoned that rape in a perverted manner is outside the jurisdiction of the law. Normal rape, however, was punishable. In Babylon, sexual perversion of every kind had been a way of life for millenniums. The Pharisees were deeply influenced by such practices.
In 3 of the major treatises of the Talmud,
What are those 3 horned creatures on? You know, man,
Where they?
it's just a couple minutes back. You don't have to show it again. That was some Greek crazy shit. It looked like a dude that was having sex with a deer or something. 2 deer standing up on him. Yeah.
That's some Talmud stuff?
It's crazy. It's craziness, man. You know? And this is no different than Egypt. They're taking from Egypt, man. You know what I mean? Greece took from Egypt. Big time. Big time. And they was marrying their brothers and sisters in Egypt, in Greece. You know, you had the Isle of Lesbos where the females would take the women, and, you know, just think about it. Lesbos. Lesbian. Anyway, and then you also had gymnasiums where the men taught the little boys and were molesting them.
Wrestling naked.
That's Greece. These are the people who are doing your translations. And you sit up and dig these books up acting like they really got, you know, the word of God in them. What is the word of man? Just like coming out of y'all's mouth. The stuff that y'all make up. You're going to have slaves in heaven.
What?
Just like I said, I would rather be a slave in heaven than a king in hell. Comprende? I think anybody else would too. You would take that option. So you're going to take the wicked to heaven with you just so they can be your slaves? There ain't going to be no flesh up there, so the spirits are going to be, what are they going to be slaving on? What can a spirit do in spirit form that consists of, you know, slavery or constitute slavery? What can he do in spirit form as you're talking for God? And God said that the body will go back to the earth and the spirit will come back to the one who gave it, which is him. Okay? So let's keep going, JJ, man. This stuff's crazy.
Okay.
are found extensive passages which give legal endorsement to seduce and marry 3-year-old baby girls. In fact, many of the greatest rabbis of the Talmud, including Simeon ben Yochai, upheld this privilege. Today in Israel, thousands of Jews go to Meron every year to venerate the memory of Simeon ben Yochai, one of the most respected rabbis in the history of Judaism.
In one of dozens of endorsements of child sex, Simeon ben Yochai said, "A proselyte under the age of 3 years and a day is permitted to marry a priest." Agreeing with ben Yochai, the great Rabbah said, "When a grown-up man has intercourse with a little girl, it is nothing. Or when the girl is less than this, 3 years and a day, it is as if one put the finger into the eye." The footnote to this passage says, "As tears come to the eye again and again, so does virginity come back to the little girl under 3 years."
What in the hell?
The same section confirms that sexual activity with small boys is in the same category. The intercourse of a small boy is not regarded as a sexual act.
What?
Pause it, JJ, so we
In
don't get
addition to
trouble.
I mean, what the hell's going on with these Talmud cats? I ain't trying to bang on nobody, but how do Zion Lex deal with this book? I think do he still deal with this book?
I don't know.
I seen him teach it.
I watched him today. I went over there and
he talking about some Kabbalah.
Really I just went over to see what they were talking about today. Just for a second. Stop in and show some support. Just but I do that for everybody. But I'll drop a like, but I won't hang around. Saying and I don't know. I didn't know he was saying the Talmud was. He was preaching on the Talmud being, the word of God.
Well, I mean, that was years ago. He was teaching out of the Talmud. I'm not saying I don't know, but I know I peeked in on him the other day, and he was talking about some Kabbalah. I didn't even stop to even. I seen the title. I kept it moving. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. But I mean, come on, man.
And see, and this is the type of thing that the people in this community will not tell you. They'll give you all the right scriptures. They'll give you the scriptures that fit their narrative, but they won't tell you the stuff that goes against their book. You see what I'm saying? And I'm telling you, this is what we got to deal with, family. So when you hear these people bringing this stuff around and up, you go in on them. Ask them about the sex, dealing with the kids and all this stuff. You can have sex with kids and you can have sex with a 3-year-old, and it's like poking them in the eye. I don't know. It's a little different than poking in the eye.
Damn, the brown eye?
Way different than poking in the eye.
Brown eye.
And then they're going to get their virginity back. What about the trauma? What about the anxiety? What about all those things that come along with somebody having that experience that doesn't want to and is forced to? Because what 3-year-old knows anything about sex? Right. And they're trying to teach our elementary school kids about it. They got all kinds of books about it in their libraries right now. Same thing, same shit, just a different day. And they are going after our kids. And just like I said, a nation is made up of all different types of people. So I don't know why these dummies talk about nations like a nation consists of one people, like it's a monolith. No, a nation is full of different diverse cultures, different diverse languages, but it's all on the same land. It's all in the same area. On a nation, okay? So you have all kinds of colors of people in that nation. And if you're going against your nation, which is set up of all colors, of all different races, man and woman, and the kids, your kids of that nation are your future. So why you allow this shit to happen to the kids right now when these kids are supposed to be our future? Whitney Houston would kick all of us in the ass in high heels right now. Rest in peace, sister, if she was alive. I believe the children are our future. You niggas don't. We so desensitized to everything that's going on out here right now, we don't give a shit about none of this.
Right.
Happening to the babies. Go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, moment of silence for Tito Jackson real quick. All right.
Rest in peace, brother.
Adulterers, Christ, in the story of the Good Samaritan, portrayed the Pharisees as racial bigots, too self-righteous to respond to the suffering of one who was not a Jew. It is true, because of the wickedness of the Canaanites, which included sodomy and infant sacrifice, Israel had been commanded by God to be harsh in her treatment of the inhabitants of the land. God made it clear that the Canaanites were not simply to be avoided, but destroyed. By the time of the New Testament, this method of God's kingdom by separate.
I mean, who is this supposed to be right here, man? I mean, what the? Go ahead, man.
Are you talking about the bull?
I'm talking about this goddamn image right here.
The skulls?
That's Caesar Borgia, y'all.
Oh, yeah. One of Leonardo da Vinci's paintings. That's what it's something. Just like the Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci's paintings. They had Leonardo da Vinci. They had Leonardo da Vinci's daddy in the motherfucker. In the Last Supper that Leonardo da Vinci painted.
Now look at that.
Yeah, Cesar Rozier. Probably tell him, going up the hill and drink some wine. Yeah, you better not drink Cesar Rozier's wine. He might have you like at the birthday party stretched out. Have all of them stretched out.
like P. Diddy.
You know,
He was P. Diddy and before P. Diddy.
Hey, that's right. Because him and Leonardo da Vinci was lovers.
Cesar Borgia.
Why do you think he was painting his face all over the place? Putting his face on all kinds of, on Jesus and everything else. Why do you think he was doing that? Because he was in love. Him and Leonardo da Vinci was, you know, lovers. I don't know if they was in love. I can't go that far. I don't know the relationship. But I know they said to be lovers. So that's why. So like you said, even the mockery at the Olympic Games, this was the first mockery right here. When Leonardo da Vinci put this Jesus in front of everybody. The face of his lover. But that's also I wanted to say too, JJ. Just like I've been saying too. Okay, why does empire just seem like at the end, why are they all practicing hypersexuality and worshiping beasts? Look at Egypt. Look at Greece. Look at Rome. Look at Europe. Look at America today. Hypersexualized. And now we're worshiping the goat. The goat is all over the place. The Baphomet. The transsexual deity that has breasts and a male member.
Not a breast, is a male member.
Oh yeah, he's the transsexual deity. Do you wonder why they're using him today? It's because he fits right into the. I was getting ready to cuss. He fits right into the narrative of the day. This LGBTQ movement, this trans movement. He fits right into it.
Existentialisms.
Bust them in the head to the white meat. You see why they don't come over here when we present? When I'm presenting, don't you, JJ?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ahead, brother.
All right.
Separation and the sword had become obsolete. God no longer made a racial difference between men.
But the Pharisees were unfazed by God's new agenda. The Talmud was finally written down nearly 5 centuries after Christ, yet its critical, even homicidal attitudes toward Gentiles might have been lifted out of the book of Joshua. However, the quickest way to grasp the Talmudic view of Gentiles is not directly from the Talmud, but from the Jewish encyclopedias. If we quote an isolated opinion from the Talmud, a rabbi may quickly object, saying, but that is not the overall opinion of the Talmud. That is not the definitive view. What the Jewish encyclopedia provides us is a definitive overview of perhaps hundreds of rabbinic statements on any subject, giving us accurate summaries of what the Talmud generally teaches.
In its article on Gentiles, the Jewish encyclopedia begins to define what makes a Jew so different from a Gentile. According to the rabbis, only Israelites are men. Gentiles, a class not as men, but as barbarians. Since Gentiles are not men in the fullest sense, so the Gentile is not a nation.
There goes that barbarian popping back up again. They use the same term when they got over here and called the Native Americans Indio-Barbaros, which means Indian barbarians. And then all of a sudden we call race, but see, that's not by race, that's by nation. And they're putting their nation above everybody else's, just like they're doing in Israel today. You got the rabbi, one of the top rabbis over there calling black people or the Africans monkeys. And they're saying that it's a white race now. history repeating itself. And why do we keep reverting to the mistakes of our ancestors? We keep repeating the mistakes that our ancestors made. And this is proving it right here. Same shit, just a different day, family. Let's go, JJ.
Okay. All right. Let me get it back on here.
Neighbor of a Jew. Further, since Gentile laws were too crude to admit,
let Deacon and them tell all Israelites was Gentiles.
Of reciprocity, meaning too crude to be taken seriously, the Gentile was forever beneath the Jew. Gentiles were outlawed by God from the beginning, and thus had no property rights. The Almighty offered the Torah to the Gentile nations also, but since they refused to accept it, he withdrew his shining legal protection from them and transferred their property rights to Israel, who observed his law.
Boy, you know they making up some stuff.
Since the Talmud outlawed the child, or issue of a Gentile, as that of a beast, a Gentile had as little legal rights in a Jewish court as did an animal. The Talmud states that if a Gentile...
Doesn't that sound like what they did in the Constitution for us, JJ? History repeating. We're chattel. 3/5 human. We're beast. Animals. Animals of the field. Animals of the bush. Animals of the jungle. Whatever. Savages. That comes along with barbarian too, savage, you know. But, you know, I mean, let's not get too far off. The Barbary Coast, the Berbers, all this, all these names, maybe at their inception didn't mean bad things, but throughout history and throughout time, they became negative connotations. Okay? So just like I said, this is your talking points are racist, brother. When you're using this book, when you're using these certain scriptures, I won't say this book, not the whole book, I ain't gonna say the whole book, but when you're using these scriptures, okay, so let's just keep going, JJ.
Gentiles sue an Israelite, the verdict is for the defendant, the Israelite. Conversely, if the Israelite is the plaintiff, he obtains full damages. Because the Talmud...
What's the point of going to court then? You're already guilty.
That's like that SCOTUS who I read to you, JJ, remember? I said they was trying to change it from, you know, the plaintiff has to prove that you did something to them. But now they're trying to change it where the defendant has to prove that he didn't do something. Remember I wrote you that SCOTUS joke? When they're talking about freedom of speech. Yeah. We got that on one of my presentations, so we ain't got to go through that. Go ahead, brother.
Conspired against Gentiles. If a Jew was ever caught telling a Gentile what the Talmud says, such a person deserves death. So vile was the nature of a Gentile that the great Simeon ben Yohai said, "The best among the Gentiles deserves to be killed. The best of snakes ought to have its head crushed."
This ain't got nothing to do with the Most High.
Jews, however, are exalted beings in the Talmud, worthy of praise. Christ described the Pharisee who blessed himself, saying, "I thank thee, Lord, that I am not as other men." An eminent Talmudic rabbi says the same. "Blessed be thou, who hast not made me a goy, or Gentile." There was a special antagonism between the Talmud and Jesus. The Talmud attacks him everywhere it can, even his mother. Mary, the Talmud says, was a whore who mated with carpenters. She who was the descendant of princes.
Oh, Mary a whore. Well, they know they ain't right, man. Shit.
Called her a whore that mated with carpenters.
Hey.
You see?
Carpenters. She ain't say, they ain't say one carpenter, they say carpenters.
Yeah. I mean, a hoe don't just sleep with one man. She's
They know they was hating, man. They was hating.
She's networking.
Hey,
She's networking.
they were hating hard. They was hating hard on Yeshua and his mama. Boy, they need their ass whooped.
This comes from that rabbinic line that comes after the second temple. But we'll get to that.
Right. Played the harlot with carpenters. Naturally followed that the scribes declared Christ to be a bastard. In its article on Jesus, the Jewish Encyclopedia says that Jewish writings defame Christ. It is a tendency of all these sources to belittle the person of Jesus by ascribing to him illegitimate birth, magic, and a shameful death. Jesus, according to this
the magic they talking about, those were his miracles, y'all.
Article was considered one of the 3 worst enemies of Judaism who came to an ignoble end. The Talmud says they subjected him to 4 deaths: stoning, burning, decapitation, and strangling. The Talmud also says he is now in hell, punished with boiling.
Oh, these guys was hating hard, man.
Hold on. It says it's stoning. What else?
Burning,
decapitation, and then hanging. How can you hang a decapitated man? Maybe the hanging went before the decapitation. You know what I mean? But I don't understand.
Maybe they hung him. They might have hung him from his feet. Say,
that's what I was going to say. Maybe they hung him from his fingers or something. I don't know.
Come on. Why would anybody even want to deal with this? But these some wicked ass Israelites that made this book up. I mean, these niggas was really mad.
Yes, sir.
But I'm sure it was some Negroes that did this. Some wicked ass Negroes.
And you gonna say that Jesus is in hell, boiling in hot excrement,
hot shit, piss and shit. They did this book right here. Wow.
What is Christ's advice as he speaks to us out of hell? The Jewish Encyclopedia quotes Jesus as telling us above all to bless the Jews. Further, there will be do nothing to their detriment. Whoever touches them touches even the apple of his eye.
Okay, wait. So this is them in a book saying this.
Yeah, he's burning in hell.
But
he's burning in hell in excrement and telling people don't touch him.
Don't worry about him. I'm all right. These guys is cool. Yeah.
Don't touch the apple of my eye because he's in hell burning in hot shit.
Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody, don't worry about him. I'm all right down here.
Christians, as followers of the
it's okay, man. Yeah, don't get vengeance on my faithful followers.
Not the fecal followers.
It's cool. I'm gonna be all right. Come on, man. Shit, that couldn't have been me, man. Get vengeance right now. Avenge me. Yeah, come on. They gonna talk about he that wrote this. Yeah, it's okay, y'all.
That shows you how far they'll take. This is after the second temple and shit. You know what I'm saying? This is after the second temple, or during the second temple, like right at the beginning of the second temple. Somewhere in there between the second temple destruction and the rabbis broke off and went their own way, and then they started doing this shit.
I mean, Christ is already dead after they wrote this mess. It had to be
5 centuries. 5 centuries.
Now look at that, man. 5 centuries later, they writing this nonsense. I mean, come on, man. I'm done.
Yeah.
These Zadokites. Is these the Zadokites? These people? Is it these dudes that's writing this or what? I'm going to look that up.
The
false prophet.
Sadducees, Pharisees, yeah, okay.
Probably the
Pharisees. Okay, now was the Pharisees Zadokites, or they were a whole different set?
Well, no, hold on. This is 500. This is 500 years later. Wait a minute. That's like 500 AD. Ain't it?
Yeah.
5th century, yeah, shit. So damn. I mean, shit. That's past that's Alexander and them. I mean, Constantine.
So
And
shit.
the Council of Nicaea.
Well, guess what? It might have been some Europeans. Remember, they learned from the. I don't know.
And then Constantine was taking books out.
Yeah.
You had the Byzantines before him, and they was whitewashing the scriptures, taking the the what was it, the one Denzel played in with the Book of Enoch, right?
Book of, yeah. No, his movie was a Book of Eli.
Took that out the scriptures. They took that out the scriptures. They changed the Ethiopian Bible and all that, and was whitewashing it and doing all that stuff. And the Ethiopian Bible, most of their praise was in Africa. They were talking about the African people and talking about, showing color and stuff. But not that it matters, because does it matter whether your liar is black or white? If y'all both going to hell together? Does it matter? And there's only one race is the human race, but you know what I'm saying? If any of you fools are trying to mix evolution and creation, and go visit your local Edward Bernays clinic, because you believe the stupid shit that's coming out of your oppressor's mouth. How can you try to mix creation with evolution? God said, let there be light. And that's where I laughed at the evolutionists. I said, that's when Big Bang happened, when God said, let there be light. But anyway.
All right,
Go
man.
ahead, JJ.
All right, man. Let's some more of this nonsense, man. This is a disclaimer. We do not support this book. This is a book of lies. It's kind of like a predated OWASP. This is fairy tale. This was,
they come along with the plain. You see, they're coming along during the time when people were trying to write the plain Bible. But what I'm saying, they don't know nothing about that either, though. But we'll go ahead.
I done messed up. Hold up.
Also deserve death.
Wait a minute.
The Jewish Encyclopedia again recaps the Talmud's position. A Gentile observing the Sabbath deserves death.
Wait a minute.
The testimony of a Christian was not admitted in evidence in Jewish courts, and an Israelite.
Hold on. Is the audience still here? Hold on. I didn't knock them off.
Yeah, thank you, Kwame. He said, school.
All right, sorry about that, y'all. Hold up. Let me add it back. I'm messing up, pushing buttons. My fault, y'all. Trying to get it right. Okay. Let me see. Hold up. Call me. What you got? You got some sources you putting up there?
I was just saying, you Marcion.
All right. And then it took your name down on the thing. That's all right. We know it's you. Okay. Present. Apologize. Share screen. We're going to get it. Oh, come on. Okay. Jewish. What did the Jewish tell me? Now, the other two videos, I'm going to track them back down that you had.
Okay.
Fuck. Share.
But if you go to YouTube, they should be in your history, though. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. Is it back up? All right.
Yeah.
You see it back on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. We were about 8 minutes in. Yeah, we was almost this one was almost over, I think.
We probably about 10 minutes in. We only had like a minute or two left.
Okay. Yeah, right. Okay. Man. Man, it's true. Okay. All right. Think we back up. All right. So let's try this again. I apologize. Okay. All right. Here we go. Present. All right. Share screen. Damn. All right. Here we go.
Just hang with us, family. We're going to get this out. It wouldn't be an Indigenous Blackman show if there wasn't technical difficulties.
All right.
I appreciate y'all, though.
Okay. Can you see it?
Not yet.
See, when I try to view from StreamYard, then it kicked me off. See it?
It's loading up now. I see the circle loading up.
Still loading, huh?
Yeah.
Damn.
There it is.
Okay.
The inhabitants of Babylon, growing, expelled them to the west.
That's part of our faith. That to read the Bible, the Torah. The people of the book not only knew the book, they could read the book. The capacity to ask questions, which is what the Talmudic tradition did across Jewish communities. It never defined the end of knowledge. It never put an exclamation mark on truth. It was constantly between great scholars and their students. It never ended. It was always iterative. This culture exploded when the walls of the ghetto went down. This same tradition, this same culture is here in our thinking, in our traditions.
Okay, I was into that one.
Fight.
All right.
We are one. We are united. We will not be discouraged. We will not be defeated. We will not be intimidated. We will not sit down. We will not be silent. We are the worst nightmare of the anti-Semites of the world. The victory is going to be ours.
He'll sit his ass down somewhere. This ain't the right one. That's the right one? Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
back live, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm messing up, y'all. Okay, go ahead, Indigenous. That's where I find the video.
All right. Yeah. So, like I said, that's just that's just the last part of the, who is just. And the books that we're being read and taught, and how come we don't know these things about these books that we're being taught, and how come these scriptures never come up when this book is being talked about? You see, we only deal with the the positive scriptures, or the scriptures that fit our narrative that we want to bring out. But we don't bring out, this wickedness within these books as we're preaching them. The people who are teaching them aren't going to tell you about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to be aware, and you got to start doing your research on, and even if it's a YouTube search, you know what I mean? Just look up what is the Talmud, what is the Septuagint, what is the Kabbalah, and we're gonna see dealing with we're dealing with Islam next with Paul and Muhammad.
Is that the next video? Let me type it.
It's not much different. No, the next one was I wanted to just to show. Remember that one that I had? I don't think I wrote it down.
Okay, I can type it in from here. Okay, what was it? The history of something. Wasn't it the history?
The history of Christianity.
That's one you want to show, right?
It's History of Christianity full series.
History, okay.
But I just want you to stop it in a minute, in 5 seconds, because it's got 1.8 million views, and it's probably got 1 million. It's like 1.5 million subscribers. So I don't want to use the video. I just want you to stop it at 1 minute and 5 seconds.
The history of Christianity. That's the name of it?
It's not it's just History of Christianity. Right. And in quotations, full series.
Oh, okay. Damn.
Yeah.
I'm not at my best technical support game today. I'll tell you that.
It's all right, man.
Oh, here it is. Okay. It's got 1.8 million subscribers.
Yeah.
I mean, many views. I mean.
Views, yeah. And then 1.45, I think it said 1.45 million subscribers. So that's why I said I just wanted you to pause it at 1 minute and 5 seconds, and then that way we can just use the chart to show how we came from the ancient Israelites to Christianity.
Okay. Oh, okay, hold on. Now I gotta share it. All right, sorry, man. This ain't my best technical day, y'all. Yeah, it's all right.
Hopefully everybody will, be able to. Like I said, if we knew somebody who knew how to, splice videos and cut the dead spots out, you know what I'm saying? That would, if anybody was interested in trying to help us to do that we would appreciate it.
Cream know how to do that, I think.
Oh, okay. Just cut it down to where you take the dead spots out, and then we can, make it a whole video. Make it a video that goes straight on through without any of the dead spots.
Yeah. It's called editing.
Okay. There you go.
All right, there you go. Okay. Let's see. All right.
Stop it at 1 minute and 5 seconds. You might want to fast forward before you share it. Fast forward to 1 minute and 5 seconds. Oh, okay. Well, however you want to do it. Yeah.
Hold up.
Keep it on pause and take it to 1 minute and 5 seconds.
1 minute and 5 seconds? Okay.
Yeah.
That's 7 minutes. Hold up. minute and 5 seconds. All right. Right there.
But yeah.
Judah during the Iron Age. So basically about 1000 BCE to 600 BCE.
Don't play it. Don't play it. Now look. All right. Now, you see here.
Now there are several competing.
My fault.
You see here where I'm going with this right now is you're dealing with the ancient Israelite religion, then you're going to the Babylonian exile, and 560. Was that 5? What does that say, JJ?
About
Babylonian exile, right above
586 to 516.
Okay, there we go. 586 to 516. And then, around, what is it, 322 BC. I mean, was that when, wait a minute, was that when Alexander came in?
It's not showing that on this chart.
Hellenism. It has to be because Alexander brought in Hellenism.
Oh, Hellenism, but it don't give a date right here.
Yeah, so it was 332 BCE. I was going to say it was AD, but that's after Jesus. You know what I'm saying? But I was just lunching for a second. It's before Christ. I mean, before Common Era. That's what BCE means, right? People think it means before Christ's existence, but it means before Common Era. So in 332 BCE, Alexander, where you see Hellenism right there, when he took Egypt, that's when Hellenism comes in to this group here, okay? After the Babylonian exile, like 200 years after, right? And then the Second Temple Judaism, you got the Sadducees, the Essenes, the Zealots, and the Pharisees. Now, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots, one of the guys in the New Testament was called a Zealot, but those religions went extinct, okay? Yeah. But it also helped to create early Christianity, you know what I'm saying? But and then the Pharisees also. But the Pharisees, you see here, JJ, this is where I wanted you to get at. You see the Aramaic polytheism? Yeah. Right there? Okay. And then this is around the Second Temple, right? Mm-hmm. And then you got the rabbinic Jews stemming off of the Pharisees around maybe before the temple destroyed in 70 CE, right there under early Christianity.
No, it looked like it came after.
Yeah, after early Christianity, after the temple destroyed, and you got the Pharisees, the rabbinic Jews, or the rabbinic Judaism taking off into another direction. You see that? And you got your early Christians here. And this is the temple when in 70 CE when the temple was destroyed. So, and then we go from there, and then we go down to the Great Church, it's covered up right now.
That's what I was going to ask you.
And you don't have to play it. Just fast forward it right there, just a little bit, and then we'll see how the rabbinic Judaism split off. But this is what we're dealing with when we're dealing with the Talmud, the Septuagint, stuff like that.
Trying to make it full. Can you try to put the whole thing up here? Hold on, maybe if I fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, I just wanted to drop down just a little bit further so we can see where Islam came in, and then we can get to the. But you see how all this broke off. So then breaking off from the main the ancient Israelite religion, right? And how they break it down and break it
after Jerusalem was destroyed. The Pharisees moved their headquarters to a nearby city called Yavne, where
I think you probably play a minute of it. Don't be commentate.
Well, I mean, you know what I'm saying. I don't want to get flagged. I don't want to, how the channel breaks up. But now you see how the Rabbinic Judaism, they bring in the star, and also you see the line that goes down from. I can't see that.
I know. I wish the words. What's the subtitles? Let's see.
Just let it play for 1 second. You might have got caught in the middle of a change. Just for 1 second.
They then became known as rabbis.
Can you see it better?
Right there.
The religion of Judaism, as exists today, traces its roots back to these early rabbis, and therefore directly to the Pharisees, in extinct.
Now you see how Judaism, they said Judaism reverted back to the Rabbinic Judaism when it broke off from, and then it also has a line from Rabbinic Judaism to Islam.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man.
That was it.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're still on, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Let's see.
Hell no.
Yeah, we're still on. But yeah, the only reason why I showed that was because, like I said, you see the split. So it's not the same book. It's not the same people. This is a totally different, a sect breaking off from, the four groups. And, after the Second Temple was destroyed.
Making up their own shit.
Yes, and then it turned into Judaism stems from that Rabbinic Judaism. And that was when they started saying that, Jesus was, maybe a man, but he wasn't the Messiah. And then that star, when you use the star of Renfran, which is, they call the Star of David, but it's, the Star of Renfran is created the same way with those two triangles. And some might say, it's like the tree of life, what's above is below and all that, but it looks like the Star of Renfran to me. That's what that is. It's the same triangle, one triangle upright and the other one upside down inside of the other one. Both points are extruding from the top and the bottom of these triangles, and their corners, their lower corners are the, things that make up the sides of the stars, the 2 points on each side of the star, and then the top point at the top of each triangle. One's right up and the other one's flipped upside down. And if you look up the Star of Renfran, Repharan, if you look that up, it's in the Bible, and it says that that's what they started, worshiping.
Okay?
I didn't have that scripture because I didn't have that as a part of this talking point, but that was just something. So now you see how you had that split, JJ.
Yeah.
Right. So they say, the white man wrote the Bible. No, man, you way off. You way off. And and all this, whitewashing didn't start until around that time, and then the Byzantines and all those people, so, and this is all Greek. You're dealing with Greeks, with the Byzantines, and then over here you're dealing with, pretendians, I guess you'd call them. But yeah, so now we can go to that next video.
Okay. I gotta find it. What was it called?
Paul versus Muhammad. Who's right about Jesus?
Paul versus Muhammad.
Yes, the dot over top of the dot, or the period over top of the period. Who's right about Jesus?
All right. Let me see.
And I'm just
You. All right, Paul versus Muhammad. All right, hold up. I'm trying.
It started 51 seconds ago. What the hell?
Yeah, is it echoing? Oh yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
because I had my phone on. Maybe because I had my phone on. I was listening. It says 51 seconds. It started 51 seconds ago. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. Paul versus Muhammad. Yeah, okay. That's up on the screen. I see the YouTube. Okay.
I wouldn't even.
According to the Quran, Jesus was a prophet
Is it?
of Islam. His followers were Muslims, and the
Yeah, it's loading right now. Hold on. I see YouTube and Paul versus Muhammad. Who's right about Jesus? Okay, yeah, now I see it. Okay, and you start it over.
Just the beginning.
gospel is the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of Allah. But when we go to our earliest records, we find Jesus claiming to be the.
See what I'm saying? There's too many goddamn. Come on.
But when we go to our earliest records, we find Jesus claiming to be the divine Son of God who would die on the cross for sins and rise from the dead. Jesus' followers proclaimed him as their risen Lord. The gospel that Christians have been reading for nearly 2,000 years tells us that anyone who claims to be a prophet but rejects Jesus' death, resurrection, and deity is a false prophet and an antichrist. So if the Quran is right about Jesus, why does all of the available evidence tell us that the Quran is wrong about Jesus? Well, our Muslim friends have an answer. The reason our earliest evidence so thoroughly contradicts Islam, they insist, is that our earliest evidence was corrupt. Notice that their options here are quite limited. Muslims can't blame Jesus for corrupting the evidence, since Jesus was a Muslim prophet, according to the Quran. Nor can they blame Jesus' original disciples for corrupting the evidence, since Jesus' original disciples were devout Muslims, according to the Quran. So they need a villain who wasn't Jesus or one of his original disciples, but who was still powerful enough to corrupt Christianity in the first century. Who had that kind of power in the first century? The only name that Muslims have been able to come up with here is Paul. So if you've ever wondered why Muslims spend so much time attacking Paul, it's not because Paul is somehow especially untrustworthy or controversial. It's because they have no one else to blame for Muhammad's abundant.
Yeah.
But not all of them, but some of the groups, they go against Paul on a regular themselves.
Yeah, you do.
Following this. Go ahead, Daddy. Go ahead, Daddy.
All right.
Historical blunders. But there's a problem here. It only makes claims if Muhammad is significantly more reliable than Paul. If Muhammad is less reliable than Paul, it makes no sense to point a finger at Paul whenever Muhammad gets something wrong. In other words, if I catch person A making numerous false statements, and I ask him how I can trust him when he's making so many false statements, and he says, it's person B's fault. He corrected all of the evidence and made my statements seem false. But person B turns out to be far more trustworthy than person A. It becomes impossible to take person A seriously. So the question we should be asking is this: Whose claims about Jesus are more reliable, Paul's or Muhammad's? In this video, I'm going to offer a few reasons to trust what Paul says about Jesus over what Muhammad says about Jesus. And when I say a few reasons, I mean 25 of them. Some of these reasons, taken individually, wouldn't be enough to reject what Muhammad says. But when we consider all of the reasons together, it's pretty clear that Muhammad's claims about Jesus are about as reliable as a CNN special on the origins of Islamic terrorism. Our records of Paul's life are much earlier than our records of Muhammad's life. And here I don't just mean that Paul came centuries before Muhammad, and so we have earlier sources for Paul's life. I mean that when we talk about the teachings and deeds of Paul, the biographical sources we use are much closer to the events they report than the biographical sources we use when we talk about the teachings and deeds of Muhammad. Our earliest biographical sources on Paul were written during the lifetime of Paul. The book of Acts was written in the early 60s, before Paul was martyred, and it was written by a traveling companion of Paul, who was a witness to many of the details he reports. We also have numerous letters written by Paul himself. Our earliest detailed biographical source on Muhammad is Ibn Ishaq's Surat Rasul Allah, which was written more than a century after Muhammad's death. And we don't even have what Ibn Ishaq actually wrote. We have an abridged version that was sanitized by a later scholar. And we shouldn't forget that many Muslims don't trust Ibn Ishaq. When Muslims quote stories about Muhammad, they're usually getting their information from sources like Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, which were written 2 centuries after. The reason for composing works like Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim was that Muslims were composing.
Is it 2,000 years later? What they say, 200 indigenous? Let's say how many years later?
Oh, no, he said a century later.
Oh, a century, man. 2 centuries.
Okay, well, that's 200. I think that's 200 years.
That's 200, yeah.
A millennium is 1,000, right?
Yeah.
So 200 years. That's in AD times. See? So that's probably
Composing so many.
Go ahead.
You said Marcion?
Yeah, because Kwame Mad, he said that Marcion, see right there on the screen, it says no, Marcion is the 2nd century. So it might have been right around the time of Marcion too, if it's 200 years after. Go ahead.
False stories about Muhammad, people didn't know what to believe. Scholars like Bukhari decided that they needed to collect stories they thought were accurate in order to distinguish them from the ever-increasing supply of false narrations. Now, if Muslims during the time of Bukhari were inventing stories about Muhammad, what about the generation before that, and the generation before that? 2 centuries is a lot of time to make things up. That's why it's always good to have sources written within the lifetime of the person you want to know about, or at least within the lifetimes of the eyewitnesses. When we learn about Paul, we learn about him through first-generation eyewitness accounts. When we learn about Muhammad, we learn about him through late sources written by people who didn't know him, whose parents didn't know him, and whose grandparents didn't know him. People who were fishing for historical facts in a sea of fabrication and deception. A few years ago, the crumbling historical foundations for the life of Muhammad led the Islamic scholar Mohammed Sven Kalish to conclude that Muhammad probably never existed. I don't agree with Dr. Kalish's conclusion about Muhammad's existence, but when even Muslim scholars are starting to recognize how difficult it's become to take Muslim sources seriously, our confidence in the historical Muhammad vanishes faster than a Muhammad cartoon posted on Facebook in Pakistan. The Apostle Paul was a brilliant scholar who defended his views in Athens. Intellect.
You got to become Indigenous. You got to be commentating through this.
Yeah, no, I think hit the balls when you're ready. But yeah, now, like I said, this is giving you and you see, they said hundreds of years after Muhammad died, they started writing this stuff. So these people didn't even, and when Paul was alive, he knew the apostles. Jesus came to him, on a road, in like a dream, I guess you'd say. But he knew the apostles. And this was during the time, a little bit after Jesus died, you know what I'm saying, that these things are going on. So, it's not like you're dealing with the people who were there and seeing the same, Jesus being crucified and all these things. And while all these people were coming to convert into Christianity at that time, you had, people coming in mass to convert, and you were calling them Gentiles, but we seen in the video before that the Jew was the only non-Gentile. All the rest of the people were called barbarians. So this is pretty much, some of the same stuff. Like I said, it's showing you that they got some of their talking points from the rabbinic Jews, who later became Judaism. Okay, so like I said, and Islam stemmed off of that rabbinic Jew line. Okay, go ahead, JJ.
Okay. Let me. Come on.
And in other major cities. He had discussions with the Stoic and Epicurean philosophers of his day, and he could quote their sources to them. Even Antony Flew, one of the 20th century's most impressive critics of Christianity, said that the Apostle Paul possessed a first-class philosophical mind. Muhammad, by contrast, was an illiterate 7th century caravan trader. Now, being an illiterate 7th century caravan trader doesn't make you wrong, just as being a brilliant scholar doesn't make you right. But when we're dealing with claims about history and theology and various other topics, having some sort of education helps. Not having an education leaves you open to obviously false revelations because you don't know enough to recognize them as false. This is why we find Muhammad telling his followers that Dhul Qarnayn traveled so far west, he found the place where the sun sets, and that stars that Allah uses to shoot demons, and that semen is formed between the backbone and the ribs. These are exactly the sort of absurdities we would expect from someone who has no clue what he's talking about, and who therefore has no clue whether his revelations line up with reality. So in terms of intellectual prowess, Paul is to Muhammad what a tenured theology professor at Oxford is to an internet troll whose most careful investigations begin and end with a Google search. The Apostle Paul was a Pharisee who studied under Gamaliel, one of the greatest Jewish rabbis of the 1st century. Paul knew the Old Testament inside and out, which is why he quotes the Old Testament so frequently in his writings. This is important because Jesus claimed to fulfill a variety of Old Testament prophecies, and you can't really examine this claim if you don't know what the Old Testament says. Muhammad was almost completely ignorant of the Old Testament because his knowledge of the Jewish scriptures was limited to what he heard in conversations. Not surprisingly, despite Muhammad's numerous interactions with Jews in Arabia, the Quran contains very few quotations from the Old Testament. Due to his ignorance of the scriptures, Muhammad couldn't tell the difference between stories that were in the Torah, and therefore divine revelation, and stories from later Jewish writings and commentaries, some of which were so late and so obviously fabricated that they weren't far beyond the level of bedtime stories. Imagine how amusing it must be for someone who specializes in Jewish literature to read the Quran and find so many fables being presented to Muslims as revelation. Cain being taught how to bury the dead by a raven. Solomon.
Come on. Cain being taught how to bury. What in the hell? Brother-in-law, you got some explaining to do, man. I mean, this is bad.
Listening to a speech by an ant. As a general rule, if you're going to plagiarize history,
I mean, come.
Speech by an ant, nigga. Come on, yo. How you hear that, yo? You gotta ant have a megaphone. I mean, you know, how the hell you gonna hear
Maybe
that?
it's a metaphor, bro. You gotta probably be metaphor.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's not be partial.
Yeah, because
we're just going over the scriptures and going over some information. We don't want to be partial. We don't want to get anybody upset. Y'all tell our family, y'all tell our brothers. We love y'all to death.
You got a talking.
They take a second look.
You got a talking snake and a donkey in the Bible, so we come out. We can't laugh too much. But an ant? God damn.
You got some good ears, nigga. That's what
I mean, what the? All right, come on.
Don't start with Other Goose or the Brothers Grimm. But Muhammad just didn't know enough to distinguish scripture from non-scripture. Muhammad's ignorance of the Old Testament is also noteworthy because, like Jesus, he claimed to fulfill Old Testament prophecies. If Muhammad had been more knowledgeable of the Torah, he would have known that he couldn't possibly be a prophet for numerous reasons. For instance, Muslim sources report that Muhammad once delivered what are now called the satanic verses to his followers. These verses promoted prayers to three pagan goddesses, Alat, Alusa, and Manat. Muhammad bowed down in honor of these polytheistic verses, and his followers bowed down with him. But a little later, Gabriel confronted Muhammad about his sin. Muhammad confessed in the History of At-Tabari, Volume 6, page 111, I have fabricated things against God and have imputed to him words which he has not spoken. So Muhammad admitted that he delivered a revelation that didn't really come from God.
He put that in the Quran?
Well, in Deuteronomy 18, verse 20, God declares,
ain't possible.
Now, you know, you gotta say, you see what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. This is man's words that you're going by. You see what I'm saying? This is, I think.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to do this tomorrow.
No, we ain't fall off.
I'm gonna sleep anyway. We're going to about 5 more minutes, man. I mean, we're going to put the whole thing together tomorrow. We're gonna start it all over, I think, unless you want to use the video and cut it. But
yeah, just fast forward it up until this point, and then we can continue on. You know.
All right, we'll do that. But okay. Go ahead and finish this part. What you gonna say? Okay. We're gonna cut it.
Okay.
We can go early tomorrow around noon or some shit. It'll be 2 o'clock your time.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. You know, I mean, you getting tired, brother? Like I said, I just appreciate you allowing me to get some of this stuff out. And now y'all have the title of the video, Paul versus Muhammad, who's right about Jesus, right? So y'all can go and check them out. These people, this brother did a good job on, you know, differentiating the scripture.
So you get
I mean,
20.
that's a good look. You know what I'm saying? It's an hour and 50 minutes long. We're gonna go over it again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we appreciate y'all coming out. Thank y'all, love y'all, and keep your head high and your grass low.
All right, yeah.
Stop lying to the people.
Right. We'll be back tomorrow.
And I love y'all. Peace.
All right, peace.